Morning. It's hotter than hell in here. Goddamn global warming. Have to move to friggin' Iceland or something. Though in this case, it's just the middle of summer, so it is hot. This is episode 10 of my Madagascar Longplay. That reminds me because the audio doesn't work unless I plug in the speakers. I need to plug in the speakers. I discussed via Norse map or threat map or whatever you want to call it, if we can define a purpose for our satellite that we're going to launch that isn't spying, because I don't think with the radar base, because take a look at this. No manpower. With the communication base, I don't think with Madagascar's location and the ability to build radar stations on a coastline, you really need spy satellites if you're not being a super foreign power. So we discussed on what the purpose of the spy satellite will actually be. I mean, what can we assume that our first satellite, this group's first satellite would be? What we would be interested in. I'm not interested in the communication satellite because, or the TV satellite, because it's launched by somebody else, and even a remotely poor person these days can buy a satellite for 1 million. So that doesn't really cover what I'm looking for in terms of information and understanding about this level of technical development. So we are going with Spy Satellite and Launch Center, and we discussed what the first satellite will be, and we decided that it's going to be a satellite powered either by solar or nuclear, in that it's a long-term satellite. It's going to stay up for a while. And my friend is going to knock, I'm sure of it. Oh, didn't. And its purpose is going to be to find defunct satellites and catch them in a net, then drag them to a high Earth orbit where they're away from the possible Kessler syndrome, where we can have the satellites crash into each other until the entire Earth orbit is filled with junk, and reduce the risk of that Kessler syndrome by dragging these unused satellites to a high Earth orbit. And once it's in a high Earth orbit, just leave it there, then go back down to a lower orbit and catch a next satellite and drag it to the same ball of satellites. Now, if you want, we can find the specific satellite that is of interest to you in that network bubble of satellites and then drag it to a location of your choosing. And we can also deorbit these satellites if you think they're too militarily secret to be allowed anybody else to touch them. But I would much prefer to be able to drag them to high Earth orbit, because while we do not currently have the technology to really melt things in space and build solar panels in space, if we drag it to a high Earth orbit and there are maybe 2,000 defunct satellites, if each one of those weighs a ton, we'll have 2,000 tons of precious metals within easy access. So what I want to do is, when we launch the first spy satellite, when we finally get it and launch it, we will also look at the actual date as being the date when we expect in the real world that somebody of our group will be able to launch a similar process. Now, we talked about this on the map tool, and nobody had any real objections. In fundamental, they said that as long as we allow things like don't approach this satellite, deorbit instead of taking to a high Earth orbit, don't study the interiors without us knowing what you're studying, and so on, common sense things, we can do it. So that's the answer we got. So we are going to be trying this, and once we get to the year where we can actually launch a satellite in this game, that will be, in our estimate, also the year when we can reasonably do a satellite high orbiting. And I'm thinking something like an ion engine and a good nuclear generator and solar powers and various nets will be sufficient to do this. I will attend this ceremony because this is us declaring that this is our plan and they require me to be present for the ceremony. Well, that's a pretty hefty cost. But since we are actually, what are the ranges like in the sector? That's a little high. I think that's acceptable considering our unemployment is a little bit higher than I'd want it to be. 3% is what these Western researchers say is the optimum between private sector and public sector. If it's less than 3%, private sector will be more powerful than corporate sector. And if it's more than corporate, will be more powerful than private. 3% is what they say. This is pretty good, especially when we combine it with this. We've gone up by, what's that, 20%? Yeah, about 20% in 6 years in our currency value compared to the dollar, which means that inflation is actually deflation due to the dollar being the measurer and not your actual inherent inflation or whatever.
Here is our growth forecast.
Oh, that's interesting. Wonder what caused that. Healthcare is still pretty low. I think these numbers are about a minimum, and the HIV pandemic is still raging. This map, actually. No, this map. Let's see. Economy, GDP per capita. We're no longer the fifth. We started here, and we are now maybe 10th. I'm thinking that when we're in the top 100, it's feasible that we'd want to start the project. But when you look at these GDP per capita for 100th, which is El Salvador, it's 9.4 million of these currency units, so it's going to take a long time to get there. On the good side, since contraception rate is going up, population growth is much lower than what it used to be, but fertility rate is up. I'm thinking of saying that the fertility rate is average number of sexual partners, while population growth is what fertility rate tries to be. I'm thinking because this can't be just 4 times, as in 4 out of 5 people move away from the country. That seems a little weird. It's possible, but a little weird, especially since we have no immigration. It kind of makes me think that it's bugged, but we'll see. Human Development Index has gone in 6 years about 1% up. So we're not looking at a great fast rise, but at least it's not declining.
Our
I
sportsmen are
will.
ready.
Tokyo. Tokyo! Sorry.
Good morning.
Huh. That is actually acceptable.
Our country.
He is confronted by many subversive undercurrents, though what you are saying is not completely without merit. We have been trying to have a more humanitarian policy for a while now, I believe is what she says. Burp drive active. Ooh. India wants me to wear a toupee. But I think I will. I will get hair implants when I'm very rich. I will get black afro hair on the top and then white long hair on the sides. I just want to see what it looks like. Can we build housing now? Yes, we can. 2, 3, 3. Starting to make a dent. Still abysmally small and slow. Once the next budget estimate comes in, if it's still a reduction in public debt, it's going up because we hired a lot of employees for the government sector. But if it's still going down and is below the level we started with, I'll build another train network. But until then, it's just houses. Might want to build more schools too and see if that moves the school attendance rate. No surprises, no medals. Sniff. That's so sad. These are all being built. I think I might want to build a couple of more winds because that's really slow. Two, three, three. I still have enough money for one more energy drink, and I use the rest to buy cheap food and more cigarettes. I'm going to be. Ooh,
Funeral will take place next week. Do you want to attend the ceremony?
okay. I'm thinking of switching from energy drink into cocoa, which I would make with milk powder and cocoa milk, which would be nice. would be cheaper and probably healthier. We're running out of houses, so people can't move to the city. This is a very good indicator. I think this is too optimistic. It seems the life expectancy too easily rises to 120.
You really?
I hear you. The president of Madagascar is laughing that they think that he's the mole in the government. A mole in my own government. That's like Counselor Adina in Mass Effect. But it's not your government, it's the people's government. That's never gets old. And now, growth is doing fine, and killed and road accidents is doing fine. We're now safer than Libya, but not safer than Mozambique or the average African Union, not to mention the world average. I think that may have been Tunisia or Algeria or one of those North African countries. I'm thinking that debt will actually increase this cycle because I increased the number of workers in the public sector. I think it's gonna cause us to have an increase in debt.
Good morning.
Tunisia, that's right. Oh, no. Let's try that. No. Fine. You still get the better of the deal. was still a cash surplus. Smaller than what I expected. We are below. Okay then.
Our scientific
I will actually spy on you. Then I will build a high-speed train network between these two cities. Still insanely expensive.
the build
No impact on tourism, no impact on public transport, and so on and so forth. And then the standard protest against tax decrease. The next stop connecting this city to this city.
Here is our growth for.
Two, three, we're really making a dent in the number of houses. Soon we'll build education, but not before the debt decreases below what we started with. Then we will build education centers because education is sorely lacking. Perhaps even one more university. Though it will be minuscule compared to the number of facilities that the country already has.
But are you
I am crazy. Didn't you hear? And I won't be getting out of your way, Inquisitor. You can't hump my homeworld. My homeworld is unhumpable by the likes of you. This Primarch saith so. Surprised we got a protest by the healthcare workers when I'm going nuts. This is still wasn't as expensive as I thought it might be. We'll see.
The funeral will take place next week. Do you want
Once all the houses have been repaired, I'll lower the number of workers in the housing industry, but not before. That's a minuscule increase. Next budget estimate, I'm probably gonna increase the interest rate by 0.5. It's not close to inflation, but I think I might want to increase it nonetheless. Euro is declining, dollar is rising. One professional grade worker for a year with all the supplies, or say a group of 4 for 3 months. It's not much, but it's the best we can do. We're like 15th poorest nation in the world, so take that for what it is. It's so hot that I put my laptop next to the refrigerator with the door open, and I could only play games through that, otherwise it would crash, but the refrigerator heated up like crazy, so I'm not gonna do it again. It was fun though. Don't want my refrigerator catching on fire. That would be pretty bad. So some of these games I can only play in the winter. In this particular country that I'm currently living in, we don't get indoor air cooling. So we have the same GDP of the world as Iceland, but Iceland has 500,000 people living in it. We have 22. I think it's closer to 27 now, by the way. Yeah, closer to 27. We managed to balance the number of young people with the average worker's age or so that we have the same amount of people as we have, population growth, basically. Fertility rate continues to climb. Tempted to institute a one-child policy, but perhaps not. Not while population growth is that low. Let's see what the energy is looking like. One more biomass. That's about 50,000 houses in a year. The booty. The booty. The alien booty.
The budget
Once we get to the next year, they're gonna readjust the budget deficit numbers again. That is actually pretty fair. How about this? There we go.
Noted.
Temper your words and remain in your place. Fuck you and fuck your place too.
We are in a dead end. We cut. The preparation.
I will attend Christmas. What does the booty want to offer us? That's a huge deal. Let's try this. Okay, that's acceptable.
No thanks. Our country is confronted with many subversive undercurrents, so you'll understand why we are forced to apply an appropriate coercive policy. However, your request is not ridiculous and will not be ignored because, I must admit, it fits into the more lenient program we have been waiting to incorporate for some time.
Because our human rights status has reached a point of people no longer rebelling every day, we are feeling comfortable in mentioning to others that perhaps no slavery. No summary executions and death camps. How about that? China. And I'm gonna be shot for that comment.
We are in a dead end.
These are both still being constructed. Let's see how awful we did. I really need a high quality computer chair. And a soft door, like a good table.
Here are the GDP. Despite all,
The funeral will take place next week.
Nauhoitan!
found.
Should really put up a poster on the wall when I'm recording, or have like one of those doctor buttons that shows up a color next to the door, and then have like a button system here, and that'd be so neat. Oh, the dreams. The dreams of a poor man. I can build another train connection. I never saw the report and how much debt I have, but like the surplus report. But I suppose I had enough. Which reminds me, we're still at 30% deficit. Trade balance is going well. So perhaps they have imported enough stuff now. There we go. Budgetary surplus has risen to 12.59.
Here is our growth forecast.
Let's see if the internet is still up. It is still up.
The funeral will take place next week. Do you want to? Whether it's
Perhaps I should attend all
We
these
are in the
funerals and refuse to play the "this guy's not dead" part. Stop playing politics with the funerals. That might be a good idea. I'd build highways as well, but in this, for some reason, if I build highways, nothing gets built, so there's that. A waste of public funds.
no.
Population growth is very slowly going down due to the contraception rate. But fertility rate, which I take to mean the number of sexual partners instead of number of children, is going up. Means that I think we are kinda in the right direction. People seem to like to have sex. So making that available should not be a bad thing, but who knows? It might be that people are having larger families and more people, but more people are emigrating, but I have no proof of that either. I could block exits from the territory and see if it spikes the growth rate, but that would completely shatter the economy, and I don't want to do it to just test something where there should be a clear slider. Okay, so we can actually build one more train network. Okay, that's expensive as hell. We had a 12% budget surplus. You saw the same report. Go home. As we start to accumulate enough money to pay back the debts, we'll also decrease the taxes. It's good. Next round, I'm probably gonna build houses with the 20,000 workers instead of repair them and see if that has an effect on the urbanization rate. At the next budget estimate, I'll probably build the one through the mountains, which is super expensive up here. And then I'll see what I think. Another sitting against the budget deficit.
I was
I will try to spy on you. That's the year-end jump in the math. But it seems to be going like in a straight line, so that was a budget fluke.
the funeral.
I will attend all these funerals and stop playing cat and mouse with this thing. I'm not sure if even building the houses increases the urbanization rate. Even if it does, I might not like it. I might not like artificially inflating the urbanization rate. These urban centers kind of look like cancer to me. I might be more in favor of agrarian or like evenly distributed. There we go. We'll see. This will be expensive. And it had almost no dent on the numbers. This might spike our debt to the 50% range, but I somehow doubt it. Nice, Italy. Kota. Fiscal pressures are the cause of the disorder. There we go. Jumped quite a bit when I built those education centers.
Good morning. I didn't.
Huh.
Sure.
That's nice. Let's take this down to by 2%.
The funeral will take.
So urbanization rate didn't change even though I built the houses, so it's not connected to that, I think. Or that I'm unable to build houses fast enough, but it should still have changed a tiny bit. I think I'll play until August or the next budget estimate. Unemployment might increase a tiny bit. This is gonna be bad. The strikes, I'm not gonna intervene in. You can stop working anytime you want, but the roads being blocked, I will open. We don't want the same environmental damage from building our economy that a lot of these developed nations got, so high pollution taxes and deforestation taxes. .420 National Weed Day. And also the birthday of Hitler. Coincidence? Now there's your ground for conspiracy theories.
The bill has
Your parliament, you the guys who voted them into office. If we want a shorter work week, vote for somebody who actually supports that idea.
funeral.
Them some good numbers. This might be pushing it.
We are in a dead end.
World Anti-Alliance Against Liberalism says that we are being too liberal. I think the seniors are actually doing pretty well right now. That's quite low.
I have to.
public or
Nah, not after 5 days of slight difficulty. As you can see, telling the polluters not to pollute is gonna cause a stir. Now we can impose. I guess it's riots.
I admit my
So we still need spaces in elementary school. We didn't build any of those, we just built a secondary, so let's do elementary schools now. That won't help much. It's less than 1% increase. We knew that increasing the pollution tax while decreasing the corporate tax might cause some stir in the public. So we are aware of that. The number of homeless people has probably stabilized. It's not going to be 2.6% after a 25% increase, but we'll see what it stabilizes at.
Your television.
No. The minister has to report that the situation has stabilized before I lift the martial law. Let's lift the martial law. It'll explode afterwards, I'm sure. There we go. Are tanks all two of them? Or was it three? Ah, this train network is finally built. Okay. Let's wait a few more days. Let's say 4th. Okay, it's still coming. Let's have the emergency at least until the 10th. After the 10th, if there are no disturbances, can remove it. The debt might be increasing because I reduced the value-added tax quite a bit.
Everything has been.
0.1 and we may be able to fund the space center. Next country to overtake is Mozambique. It's quite a lot. Nice, that was a very small surplus. Still a surplus. We might be stabilizing the value added tax at about 90%.
The bill has
Maybe I'll play until September. I'm kind of feeling a gaming mood. It's not hot enough to crash yet. That's a mild decrease. Did it have an effect there?
Good morning. Sure.
It's too much. Still too much. We could have what about 200 tanks for the cost of one submarine? So no. Still way too expensive for us.
Here is our
The increase is so little that it won't even show up on the register. It's not environmental ministry, I'm pretty sure. I think it's industry. Yeah, Ministry of Industry. Onshore, let's put it there. Offshore there. And one solar there. There. And just for funsies, let's continue building these. This one isn't complete. There we go. Rest back into repairing houses. We'd like to be self-sufficient in energy. Luckily, the national consumption of energy has slowed down nicely. That seems to be maybe the industrial pollution tax, making people be more energy efficient. Once we get to national consumption of 50 terawatts, I'll build a nuclear reactor, but not before. We don't even have money for it right now.
I was. The competition.
So the president gets paid about 3 or 4 times more than the average worker, and the average worker gets paid about 3 or 4 times what the minimum wage worker gets paid, who gets paid about 50% or
I
so,
was trying to
perhaps 25% more than just being on Social Security. And everybody's encouraged to get a job. The unemployment services are fully funded.
you know, fool.
I'll give the part.
We would prefer not to increase the wages, but to cause deflation. So that the purchasing power increases while like the numbers on pieces of paper decreases.
The
So you
procession.
don't have to pay like $1 million for a mobile phone or something, but you can instead have a few coins to pay for it, if you will. That's our goal. Perhaps gold coins or something, but that will be in the far distant future.
Good morning. Sure.
The sit-in has.
The budget that you.
You may complain all you want, but you know that reform caused the GDP per capita to jump, as far as I know. We're almost 1/3 down.
We are in a dead.
It's a pretty good rise. I wish this had more numbers. But judging by this, it's going pretty well.
We are in a dead end. The country's on the edge of the abyss, and
Eighth will be the removal of the martial law. These are the anti-martial law protesters. again.
Demonstrate.
Trade balance is finally recovering. I think in 27 I will lift the state of emergency. It's getting
Good
smaller.
news.
Yeah, it's definitely getting smaller. I think this is about it for this gameplay. Next time I'm gonna connect these two cities, then probably these two cities, and that seems about it. Then I'm gonna buy like 17 tanks, 4 missile launchers, and see how expensive one of these is. Not very compared to the submarine. The submarine was hella expensive. I could build several communications bases with its cost, but this is still way too expensive. 10 trillion a year, that's too much. Okay. Trade balance is finally fixing itself. So that's it for this game. Thank you for watching. Seems like subsistence farming is actually taking hold, or for some reason people aren't importing such an insane amount of food. Who knows? Thank you for watching this episode. I will be getting back to you.